Welcome to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Judy Zelina. Today we're going to be talking about an organization. It's called Linked by Pink. You may have heard about it. And what it is an organization to increase awareness of young breast cancer. And I have two wonderful guests joining me who are from this organization. I have the executive director and also the co-founder, Norma Zimmer. Norma has been on the program, well, that was quite a while ago, so we want to get everybody updated on what you guys are doing. I also have a board member joining us here, Angie Janoski, and she is also a survivor. So it's great to have you ladies on board and let our viewers know, what you have out there to offer, because you're kind of a pretty well-kept secret.
Yes.
So we're getting the word out for you now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first off, what I'd like to do is I want to let our viewers know a little bit about the history and how it got started and how you two ladies got involved. Angie?
Norma,
I'm sorry.
well, I was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007. I was 42 years old. And right when I was finishing my chemo treatments, local woman, Heather Stumpka, had put an ad in the Regional Cancer Center's newsletter. And she was looking for some women to help her put together a calendar that she could raise some money to donate to a local organization. So that I had actually responded to that. And there were 9 of us that showed up for the meeting. We put together the calendar, and we ended up having a softball tournament in order to pay for having the calendar printed. And through that process, many of us realized how nice it was to be able to interact with other women who were going through the same things that we were. A couple of them were a few years out, but most of them were just finishing up treatment or still going through treatment. So at that point, after we had gotten the calendar produced and the softball tournament all done, we decided that it would be a great idea to try to get together once a month and, just converse with each other and try to see, compare notes with each other and how everybody's doing and talk about what we've been through.
So that's how Linked by Pink was born.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And Angie, how did you become involved? And when?
How did I become involved?
Well, we know how you became involved, but when? I mean, what brought you to the group?
Well, I was in the military, and I was moving back to the area. I had been diagnosed with a couple of other cancers prior to my breast cancer diagnosis in 2010. And I was, as I said, moving back to the area. And through the other 2 cancer diagnoses, I didn't feel the support as a young survivor. And moving back to the area, I had 2 friends who did not know each other. They were like, I've heard this great organization, Linked by Pink. It's for young breast cancer survivors. You've got to get in touch with them. Great support, basis. And I was like, I haven't had great support up till now. Haven't had great success with it. I'm not so sure. Then I reached out to them, and I think Heather was the first one that I had contacted, and attended my first meeting and just fell in love with the group from there and felt just an instant connection. As soon as I started attending the meetings, I don't think I missed a single one. And I was like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And right about that same time, Heather had announced that she was going to be stepping down, and she was moving out of town at that point. So I stepped up and was helping as a managing director. Well, then I was getting in a little over my head at that point. So then I stepped down as a managing director and just assumed the role as a board member at that point. But I peek in on Facebook and really offer, to help as a mentor for a lot of the girls that are coming in newly diagnosed. I'm 3 years out at this point for my breast cancer diagnosis. But like I said, I've had a few other rounds with other types of cancer. So I've had different types of chemo and radiation that I can offer a little bit of advice with, and just support, just general support.
Showing up today.
And showing up today. I like to help.
What I have seen from this organization is that you ladies are a family. You become family. From the minute a person walks in that door to meet you, they're welcomed with open arms. And I know you started just getting together, maybe talking a little bit, but you've grown and you actually have some different services that you do provide to some of the young women, right, Norma?
Right. And I think that a lot of that came about just because talking amongst ourselves, we realized, wouldn't it be nice if, we had access to this, or this person really needs help with this. Maybe we could do something to help them. So we did start up, we have a couple of programs that we do. We have medical grants that we do for women, and one of the first things I think that was near and dear to my heart was our college scholarships, which are for the children of women who have been diagnosed. When I was diagnosed, my oldest son was a junior in high school, so we were looking at scholarship information at that time. And sadly, around that time, one of the girls in our group had passed away, and her family had directed funds to come to our group. So we directed all that money to go start our first scholarship. So today we have 3 of them, which is like
gosh,
awesome.
How wonderful.
Yes. And it's interesting to hear just the stories. It's an essay contest that we have people doing. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's just interesting to see how it impacts the whole family. People think that a diagnosis is really just a patient. They do their thing, but there's lasting side effects, and it does affect the whole family.
And I think that is what is so important, and I'd like to focus a little bit on that. When you are diagnosed with cancer, yes, it is a personal thing. Yes, you are the one that's going to be going through the course of treatment, whatever it may be. But there's certainly more people involved. And what are some of the issues that you've seen happen after you were diagnosed with family members or friends?
Them not taking enough time for themselves and dedicating too much time as a caregiver to me personally as the one going through treatment. That would, I think, be the number one thing that I've seen that they did. Yeah, I think that was...
There's so much fear, too, don't you think?
Yes.
I mean, I can remember an example for me. I know when I was diagnosed, and I was working through it. It was very hard for some of my coworkers. In fact, I had a coworker, one of the people that work with me, didn't even acknowledge me, wouldn't even say hi. Because there was a sense of fear, am I going to say something wrong? Do you see things like this?
Yeah.
And it's very common to have people who just kind of walk out the door, and they may come back at another time, but I think it's more they're afraid.
Right, well, they don't want to offend you.
Right.
Right.
Norma, I know you have support groups. Tell us a little bit about what happens during these monthly meetings.
We typically have a lot of our meetings at Keystone Rehab, which is on Route 97. And they are for an hour and a half. They're on the first Wednesday of each month. And really, it's just a time for women to either come back together, women who know each other, who have been through this already, to come back together, or for someone who's newly diagnosed to come in, ask questions. A lot of times somebody in between meetings may, say, oh, I had this pop up, this side effect, that side effect, and they can ask others around them about, how that has affected them. And it's just a great way to get answers for any questions that you would have. For the newly diagnosed women, it's a great way to find out what's to come, to kind of give them an idea and calm their fears that they may have of the unknown, because once you're going in that, you really have no idea what's going to be happening. We try to have speakers for a couple of the months. We did have a therapist come in a few months ago who talked about survivor's guilt and just fear of death, that type of thing. And then, we've had yoga teachers come in, just different types of things to try to help us get beyond that diagnosis. This past year, we did start some a little bit more laid-back get-togethers that we'll do about quarterly, and we'll go out usually to a restaurant, and it's really just a time to just get together with friends and talk and hang out. And a lot of the girls who are long-term survivors who may not come to our regular meetings do kind of like that format too, because it's not throwing them back into their diagnosis, and but it still gives them a chance to come back and see the women that they've come to know.
Angie, how often do you pop into the meetings?
Well, the summers are definitely a little more hectic. So I've missed a couple of the meetings this summer, but normally I'm there every month. So.
And I think it's great that you have like therapists come in and talk and exercise, because truly there's so many issues when you're diagnosed with cancer or going through it, or even being a survivor, like you talked about survivor's guilt.
Right.
And many people really don't know what that is.
Right. There are a lot of long-term side effects that people think once you're done with your chemo or your radiation or your surgery, people think you're done and you're better. There's a lot of long-time side effects, and that's what I think is helpful for even somebody who's a few years out. Like, because anytime you have an appointment come up or some kind of test that you have to do, I'm 7 years out and I still get scared to death. So it's great to have that support from other women who know what you've been through.
Right, and you've got some survivors too that, I mean, being in this organization, you've met a lot of people that have, been survivors for a long time, haven't you, Norma?
Yes, we have. And every woman's story is different. I've met many, many women, but I would have to say the best one was when I was about 2 years out. She was diagnosed at 24, and she was a 25-year survivor.
Oh, wow, wonderful.
Yes, and she was just a beacon of light for all of us, because it just gave all of us hope that, there's a chance that you're going to go on and live a very, very long and happy life. And to be diagnosed at 24 back in the day was, not a very good chances of her survival. So it's awesome to be able to see women who are further out than you.
That is wonderful. Angie, when you were diagnosed, I'm sure when you were diagnosed you thought, oh, okay, well, I'll go through the chemo or radiation or whatever your treatment may be. You had no idea some of the concerns that were going to play a part in this, or did you?
No, absolutely not.
And this group, it was able to help alleviate some of your fears?
They did. I came in, there are so many different choices, and we talked about this just a little bit beforehand, but there are so many different choices that you don't understand are going to impact other choices. And I guess the picture that I had put together was like a rubber band ball. It's like peeling off layers. This layer is going to affect this layer to affect this layer, and how you peel it off is going to affect the next one. So coming in and talking to women, like Norma said, each journey is different. So to talk to different women that have made different choices, made some of the choices that I was going to make and continue to make even through my survivorship, made those choices a lot easier. So, just right through medication, and, it just made it a lot easier.
Oh.
It took a lot of the stress off my shoulders.
Wonderful.
So.
One of the things that, especially with being a group of younger women, because Linked by Pink kind of focuses on women who are diagnosed under the age of 45, a lot of them have fertility issues that they have to deal with that you would never think would affect someone like that. But once you go through chemo, there's a chance you may not have children. If you're somebody who's just starting out, your mid-20s, 30s, and trying to plan for a family, that's not always possible. But talking to other women, we've had 2 girls in our group who have been able to have children after having chemo, and those are like miracle babies. And they can then become a great source of information for the next person who comes along who may be looking at options that are available for them, to preserve their fertility in the future.
See, those are issues that people, when they get diagnosed, that's not the first thing that they're thinking of.
Right.
Right.
But there are true concerns that are going to happen down the road.
Absolutely.
For them.
Yes.
And
So-
one of the questions that I get asked a lot are multiple diagnoses with different types of cancers.
Okay.
So that's one of the questions that a lot of the women will come to me and ask. We're like, well, just what do you do, and how, which doctors do you go to, or what are the questions that you ask your doctors? Especially being so young. My first cancer diagnosis I had was at 35, and it was a cancer that most women don't get at 35. So they'll come to me, they're like, well, what do you ask, and what are your typical questions? Can you help us prepare a list to ask? And so I'll sit down with them and help them prepare those types of questions. So there are women that help with that type of mentorship within the group.
That is nice. That is, because truly you have women. You guys been there, done that.
Exactly.
So you can help prepare them for something that's going to happen down the road, because they don't know.
Right.
You get diagnosed, oh, well, I have treatment going with my life. Whoa, well, you have a family, or you have a future you're trying to think about. So you guys do a great job.
And it's nice to be able to see somebody like Angie came in, and she was just diagnosed, and now here we are a few years later, and now she's the one who's giving help and hope to other women.
Right,
so,
right, and I think that's it. I mean, you're giving hope.
Right.
Not just help, but hope, because, gosh, you need it right then.
Yes.
Another thing now, all right, guys, I know you need money. I mean, every organization needs funds. How do you raise money for Linked by Pink?
Well, it started out when we first got going. We were holding lots of events. We had a softball tournament. We were selling the calendar each year. As our programs have grown, that has taken up a lot of our time. We're volunteers. And so the planning part became a little bit difficult to do. And a lot of organizations in the community have started raising funds for us, which is wonderful. So we've kind of pared down right now to where our only fundraising event that we ourselves do is our bowling tournament, which we have every February. We always get sold out groups out.
Where do you hold it?
It's out at Rolling Meadows.
Okay.
And it's a great family event. People bring their kids. There's raffles. It's just a really fun time. We also have some of our bigger outside events, the Gannon Pink Zone game.
What is that?
That's in February. That's a women's basketball. They honor survivors during that game, and they hold fundraisers and stuff, and they've donated money to Linked by Pink for that. The Rivals Linked by Pink is a 5K race that's put on between the Gannon University Physical Therapy Department and the Mercyhurst College Sports Medicine Departments. And they're going to be having their 5th annual one this year, and that's always a really fun event. And it's wonderful to have college students involved, because the youngest girl that come to our group was diagnosed at 24. A lot of those students are that age, and so there's a lot of awareness and great support that we get from the local colleges.
Good, good. And you have all these fundraisers, and you're all part-time volunteers. What, you mean like you have a life or something? You do fantastic. I mean, when I hear of what you do and all the hope and the help that you offer to the community, oh my gosh, you ladies are fantastic. You really are.
Thank you.
Now, have you participated, Angie, in some of these annual events?
Yes. Yes.
And are you a good bowler?
No. I am terrible.
All right,
I will be
good,
honest.
Good. I like to hear that. It's not all pros.
No.
Nope, it's anybody just coming out for a good time.
Absolutely. It's all about the support, and I know exactly where the money goes. I want to highlight one of those things of where the money goes. When I was one of the managing directors with Norma, I worked directly with the medical grants. And the medical grants alone last year, we handed out $16,000 to 2 women, and you didn't have to be a Link by Pink member to receive a medical grant. Over the course, since 2010, we have handed out $34,000
Oh my gosh.
to 60 women. And these are women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And for me personally, to make the call and let somebody know that they had received one of these medical grants and hear the relief in their voice, knowing that they had received help where they desperately needed it, and to hear the stress just wash away because they could now concentrate on what they needed to, and that was to get better, from the cancer. I know where that money goes. When we have those fundraisers from the bowling tournament, from the Rivals 5K, when we receive the money back from the Pink Zone, I know where this money goes, and it comes from the community support right here in Erie. Every penny of that goes. We have very minimal costs. We're a nonprofit, so and Norma, the time that this woman puts in, almost just by herself, is just enormous.
Well, I think what is so important here is the fact that this money goes right back into the community here.
It does.
Because I know you have scholarships, and what are some of the other? Let's talk about the money since we're at that point. They have scholarships, but what else do you? What services do you provide, or financially? Where does the money go to help some of these members?
Well, there's gift cards for surgeries. Okay. There are gas cards that are part of the medical grant. We also do house cleaning help.
Yes, we've been able to help a couple members with house cleaning, like women who have suffered lymphedema and are not able to use their arms as well, to be able to help them with that. We also have gift bags that we give out to women that have like gift cards for a meal and just kind of pink comfort items. And somebody who's receiving it, we can give a gift bag to anybody. That doesn't necessarily need to be someone who's under 45, just anybody. If anybody was interested in a bag, we'd be happy to give them one. We've been able to adopt 2 families for Christmas who weren't going to be able to have Christmas for their children.
Oh, how nice.
And then the scholarships. And of course, it pays for our snacks and stuff at the monthly meetings.
Okay. Now, do you have anything new in the works? Any events planned?
We do, but we are trying to keep that under wraps.
Okay, you're just going to have to keep an eye on the menus. You guys will let me know, and I'll put it on the menu and be looking for it.
One big event that we do have coming up on October 8th, 2014, is Tea with Ann Jillian. And that is going to be at the Ambassador Conference Center on October 8th. Headline Events is doing that for us. And that, I think, is going to be a really great event. Ann Jillian is also a breast cancer survivor. And so we are really looking forward to that.
All right, now, volunteers. I know you need volunteers. Ladies out there, help these ladies here. If anyone is interested in volunteering, what do they need to know to be a volunteer, and how can they get a hold of you?
Really, we could use volunteers. If you have a skill, we can use it.
Any skill, any skill.
We have a lot of stuff we do on the backside. So, staffing for events, social media, our website, getting together the gift cards for patients, mailing stuff out. We're currently looking for a board member as well, with a legal background, hopefully. But if anybody would be interested, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Our website is info@linkbypink.org, and our phone number is 969-5957. They could leave a message there. We're not manning that phone, but somebody would get back to them.
Okay. Ladies, I am so glad you joined me. I'll tell you one thing, you have a lot going on in the few years since you've been here in the program.
Yeah, and it's been just through the help of, all the women who have come through it and are really wanting to give back.
Right,
Great.
right. Wonderful organization. Viewers, please, if there's anything you can do to help them, I'm telling you, give them a call. They would love to hear from you. Angie, it was such a pleasure to meet
Thank you, Judy.
And good luck to both of you. You know, carry on, keep doing these good works.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I'm one who appreciates everything that you do. Viewers,
Thank you.
again, any questions, give them a call. And thank you for tuning into the Millcreek Government Channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.